Welcome dangly peeps, GSV peeps and all to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. And this is the episode where we get to spend some time sending a probe to the moon. Now, in the normal way, there are some stipulations to do, and there's a 64-ton weight limit, and there's also a time limit in getting to a 100-kilometre orbit here as well. So, and I've opted for putting some Kodiaks on boosters, using some of these pointy boosters as well, dropping them away when they're empty, and I could do that without putting the fuel lines on by just going into the advanced settings and changing the preference of fuel or the fuel flow to allow fuel to flow. Try saying that after a few pints. Try getting the fuel to flow across the couplings, and then getting it to drop the tanks first, and then go back to a normal sort of setup, as you would. So as you can see, I've put the apoapsis straight out to 100 kilometres. Again, we're under a bit of time here, so it's perhaps not the most efficient way of doing it, but that's the way we've done it. And then the stipulation here was actually they've got to be between 99,000 and 101,000 metres, and so that was a little bit tight, a little bit difficult to try and do. Again, I'm not using McLeod, I'm not using SmartAss or anything like that. I'm just doing, by eyeball and making a few cock-ups on the way. So at the moment, you see, we're just coming up to the apoapsis. I'm going to extend that out, and then once I've gone, it's a bit slow to react unless I turn the RCCS on, which I was going to do. We're going to burn prograde, burn the periapsis out to become the new apoapsis, and that's going to take about 700 dV out of the dV I've got. See, I've got masses of dV here. There is, I reckon, more bonus to get if you do it within the or using less fuel, but I just want to get the mission finished on this first run through as such. Now, see, I've just missed it slightly there. There's 100,000 there and 103,000 there, so I'm going to warp around to the apoapsis warp around to the periapsis and just bring the apoapsis back around again. And by using RCCS or RCS there, you can see that actually that changes changes it quite a bit. So the amount of force that takes actually changes what you're actually trying to achieve. So it's a bit of proing and froing. Yeah. Am I going to deploy that? Yes, I thought I was going to deploy that. It's nothing technical underneath it, just a bit of a fairing to sort of get a couple of batteries. What's the other thing as well? The solar panels. Yes, all the electrical charge had to come from burning the Kodiaks, or can't remember what the other engine was called now. It's gone. I'll have to look back at it. This is the first mission, by the way. We had to actually build our own spacecraft. I don't know why I keep calling them planes. I don't know. Too many years playing IL-2. But as you can see, we're just trying to balance it up. I'm sure there are easier ways of doing this, but I'm doing it the long-winded way. At the same time, trying not to waste fuel by just sort of tweaking it around until we get to the 99 to 101, and that's it there. Now the next thing we need to do, as you can see, we're on this 45-degree orbit, having launched from Boomerang, and we're now going to try and get out to the moon. Now to do that, you have to do it at the ascending node and descending node, exactly as we did for, I believe it was Minmus a couple of turns back, or I can't remember what the last mission was off the top of my head. But this worked out reasonably well, and actually, yeah, we were able to burn out from one of the nodes there, get out to the orbit of the moon there, and get an encounter fairly easily. Now it was a little bit of a tweaky encounter, and I had to tweak it a little bit, and then when it actually came to burning it, well, that sometimes doesn't go as planned, but you know, as you can see here, I've got a reasonable periapsis miles away from the moon itself, but we can tweak that in a bit later. And again, because I'm doing this all by hand rather than letting MetJect do it, I could go derating the engines a little bit maybe, but it's more accurate just to do a couple of little burns and then get things set up and then tweak them a little bit later. The background music you can hear, by the way, I've had to put on a background music because when I speed these videos up to 300% or 3 times normal speed or whatever you want to call it, and we end up losing the sound. So this is actually one of Coral Video Studio's backing time tracks. It's not the most exciting thing, but I'm a little bit bored trying to find sort of common, creative, free, royalty-free type software. So we'll see how this goes. There's a few other versions of this I can have. I find if I use one tune more than the other, or too often, it just really gets boring for me as well as you guys. So there we are. We've burnt out. We haven't quite got. Well, we have quite. It's not quite the maneuver node, but it's close enough. So the other thing I had to remember to do here was close, but again, there's no power generation involved. Oh, I love that music switch there. Yes, once I'd sorted out where I was going and it was all set. Never swap the pause there. Went off my tea while I paused it. But yeah, come back here and I need to, before I can shut the probe down to save power, I have to make sure I've got enough, or set a node. Now I can warp around. Now I'm warped around, I can put the node, set the node. You put the node into hibernation, and by putting this little setting there where you can automatically get it to hibernate when you're in warp mode. So just checking the electrical charge there, plenty of electrical charge, it's great because in a minute I'm going to ditch this last stage and we do have to then just rely on the charge we've got. It doesn't, it gives us a fair amount of time. I went for two of the slightly larger, heavier batteries, but as you can see, just burning off there, 250 if you like, just to get it to roughly the right plane. And I can't remember what I did here. I think I was just checking the mission there. I just had to try and get this inclination right because it's not a straight equatorial orbit, and trying to get the ascending node and descending node in the right place for the apoapsis and the periapsis to be in the right place. To be honest, it's more luck than judgment there. But yeah, I also messed it up then by burning, instead of towards the node, just burning retrograde, so we didn't actually do the anti-normal or normal burn as well. But then I could do that by hand. Once you've ditched that last stage, the thing becomes a lot more reaction wheel-y. Does that make sense? That's not even a phrase. Anyway, so then I can burn quite happily. And you'll see that I'm just using 4 little cub verniers there. Cub verniers. They've got lots of nice gimbling, but they're really small because you're using 4. You get a reasonable thrust from them on a small craft. But yeah, obviously a little bit, not too worried about the fuel, but a little bit worried about, where these don't have any power generation. I've got to watch the battery power while I'm doing this. I have no idea what's happening with this music. So I'm now just burning retrograde, get the periapsis now down to the set. I think it's 13 kilometers. Yeah, 13 kilometers I had. As you can see, I've not quite got the periapsis right in the right place, but I know there's a bit of leeway here, so I can always tweak it a bit later. Now I'm going to warp around to the periapsis. Warp around a little bit quicker. And now I'm going to burn down the periapsis again to just about 13 kilometers. I think there I found out, yeah, my inclination's a little bit off, so again, don't burn the just try and save a little bit of fuel, maybe make it a little bit easier. Come round to one of the ascending or descending nodes, and just tweak it to actually make sure I've got the right inclination there. Now, I did find this mission is actually relatively easy compared to the problems I had with that very first mission. This, just having a little bit of prograde and retrograde makes life a lot easier. Having SAS stability, that makes life a lot easier than trying to do it by hand. Once you've got cured the problem, a few of the problems, got a few solutions for the weight and the windows and such like, these later missions actually aren't too bad. Having said that, I'm only on mission 4, 5, something like that. So we'll see how the rest of them go. But little pause there as my screen goes into screensaver. So yeah, just coming round to this apoapsis, just want to on the apoapsis onto this node here, which I'm just going to tweak. As you can see, I should be on a decent inclination now. You can tell that from Kerbal Engineer there. And all I need to do now is just pop into the periapsis and apoapsis and just reduce them down or bring them back out. I can't remember what this says. This is the periapsis, which is actually at 15 for some reason. I think where I went anti-normal, it sort of messed around with the orbit a little. But I've said plenty of fuel here, so we can burn retrograde here, burn that apoapsis down to 13, then repeat it round at the what will now be the periapsis, and just tweak them back in till we get within that sort of that margin of error. I can't remember what the top is in my head here. It should be here. Quick check on the electrical states, and lots of electrical power there, absolutely no problem at all. So just burning periapsis, get them both within that 13, and there it is. There. So what it wants us to do, and I did miss a trick here, is it does put a little node to show you exactly where you need to go. So go on, click continue, thank you, and come around here. I'm just struggling to look for I think it was the eastern crater. Just turning off a few things there. Now if I slide around, you see that little green mark down there. I didn't actually spot that when we come round to it. I'm trying to figure out which is east, the eastern crater. Didn't actually see it there, but I've spotted it, and this will be a bit dark for you guys, but that's a fly-through point. And what I didn't realise is because we're on this sort of inclined orbit, I could have just done a few turns, and at some point that eastern crater would have crossed my orbit, because as the moon rotates underneath it and I stay in that inclined orbit, as it was I decided not to go for the extra points, so we flew over the eastern crater up north but not through the fly through, so lost a few points there, and I couldn't remember whether I had to keep or whether I had to transmit the goo, so I had to reset it, observe it again and then transmit it. The other thing that showed me is or didn't show me was I didn't realise I could transmit it. The only thing I wasn't worried about is obviously transmitting it. We know tends to use electrical power, and the last thing I wanted to do is actually lose control of my node because I didn't have a node probe, because we didn't have any electrical power. So the next thing to do is we'll really have to land on the far crater. I can't remember what it's called now. Does it show it if I shine over the top? At this point here I'm thinking, right, let's not try and go too near the node, let's just land in the crater, and then realising perhaps in a minute that there was a range around that waypoint I've got to land in. But the first thing I'll do is bring the orbit down. Now there's no atmosphere here, so there's no slowing involved like there was in the last, so I can bring the node around. Oh, sorry, I can bring myself around to the node, walk around to the node, burn retrograde, bring that splash point down to somewhere within that crater, and that's pretty much where I would end up, provided I didn't do any retrograde burning to slow down my both horizontal and vertical speed and come down to a nice land. Now, I did try because it gave me the robotics here within the build for here, because I've got the what's that? I can't remember this. The Making History DLC, and I can't remember the other deal. Breaking Ground DLC. I was going to make myself some nice snazzy robotic legs to land on, rather than trying to land on the engines, which tend to not like being slammed into the ground at any great speed. And but the bits were just too heavy, so we decided against it. And I'm just thinking, if I can put it down and I'm not needing to lift off again, if I break a couple of engines, I break a couple of engines, providing they don't explode and take the rest of the craft with it. Now at this point here, I'm realising that I need to land within a certain radius, and I'm landing right in the north part of that crater, which is possibly outside of the radius there. So we're going to have to burn, well, first we're going to have to burn a little prograde to bring the landing point a little bit further to the east, and we're going to have to burn either anti-normal or normal. Again, I can never remember which one's which, and anyway, I remember now which one it is. As such, is burn a little bit one way, so you can see me here burning, and you can see the line moving the wrong way. So I'm not using full burn there, just a couple of clicks on the old shift. We'll come round to the other way. He says, losing control. Well, not losing control, but the old SAS doesn't want to slow down too much. So once I get it back to whatever that is, whichever normal or anti-normal way that is, I'm going to burn round. And actually what I can do from there is I can, because I want to extend it as well, which means burning away from the planet, if you like, to lift our orbit up, I just come to the north of that marker, and that will lift it up and bring it round. As you can see, there it goes, using very, very little thrust there. One or two hits on the thrust key there, ignoring that manoeuvre marker because it's not wanting to go where I'm wanting to go. I'm just eyeballing this, and we've gone out a lot further to the east. I still need to come to the south, so again I'm just now looking for the anti-normal and normal markers. I remember this being a bit strange. I whizzed around the nav ball for a few times and couldn't find the normal or the anti-normal marker, and I know where they should be. They should be around there. If prograde retrograde is roughly north and east and west, then anti-normal and normal should be north and south. So it doesn't matter if they're not there. I can figure it out for myself. Let's just burn one way. Can't remember which way I was burning, but I think no, I'm still hunting here. I was just looking here at in real life, if you like, rather than looking at the nav ball. I'm thinking, right, okay, well, I obviously want to burn south. That'll bring my path south. So there we go, burning to the horizon at 180, keeping an eye, because that on the map also it tells you where your landing point's likely to be. So again, just burning quite strongly, about a third thrust down, and I was good to see that actually the vector's coming towards me as well. And then when it's just about virtually right on top of the marker, I'm quite happy with that. What I'm going to do now, come back to the main screen. Now we need to burn retrograde. Now I'm on showing surface there, so I'm burning retrograde to my movement to the surface, which means as I start slowing down, my horizontal velocity and the greatest vector, if you like, starts becoming the vertical velocity, then that is what we're going to do, is we will burn slowly as the vessel, as the velocity vector, if you like, starts to pin down to the ground, then that will, if you like, point the ship automatically in the right direction to slow me down my speed rather than just my horizontal velocity. So you can see, hitting that, coming down to 150 meters per second, 100 meters per second, and I'm going to take the horizontal velocity right down to next to nothing, if you like. That's about 10 meters per second there. I'm within 16 kilometres of the landing mark, and that's good enough for me. I could probably get a few more points, get a bit closer. So what I'm trying to do now is get the retrograde mark right on the zenith. That's a big word for a Sunday night. Zenith of the nav ball there. That means that I am coming straight down. Now obviously I'm using the retro, the RCS, and these RCS, they're quite powerful and they do change my horizontal velocity quite a bit. Now that surface velocity shows me my vertical velocity now because the burnt a little bit too much and now I'm going up, but as long as those prograde and retrograde markers stay marking at the zenith and I'm pointing at the zenith, we should be coming straight down. Now I'd love to say I get this down on the floor, absolutely no problem at all, but I really struggle, I really do. There's a deceptive amount of gravity on the moon. Landing on Minmus is so much easier because you can use tiny little bits of velocity. What I really should have done here is before I got to this point here where I'm looking for a shadow and trying to gauge the velocity, realising here I've got some horizontal velocity as well. I don't want to tip this thing over. To be honest, I could have tipped it over, it would have worked, but faffing around like this, building the velocity in the wrong way and then trying to control the velocity with the I, J, K and L keys horizontally while trying to control the vertical component with the shift and the control keys. It was just too much for my alcohol addled brain to do, so just whizzed this last bit up to, this is 10 times speed just to try and get it. I wasn't flying around at this speed, absolutely no chance. Oh, nearly had it then, but then overcooked it again. I said, what I should have done, derate those engines, come down using sort of full speed and full thrust, because that would have been so much easier. And the other thing I could have done, obviously, is put a little bit of, seeing how much DV, how much fuel I could have saved. You know, I could have put some monopropellant on this, done this all with monopropellant rather than trying to use it with the main engines. The monopropellant would have been able, I'd have been able to keep a some sort of a vertical thing, keep it point upright rather than this, which would get pointing and moving it around. So anyway, that's for next time. As you can see, just nearly punched down again, messed it up, leant over, now accelerating away because I was canted over. This is, it's painful for me to watch now. It's about the second or third time I've seen it, so hopefully you guys find it a little bit more interesting than I am. If you're not, well, just let me know in the comments down below. I do land this, honestly. In a minute, any minute now. I've got about the right speed now. I've got the hang of this. I've got this, absolutely no problem. Go on, just touch it down. Go on. Yeah, that's just a tiny little bit of thrust there. Brilliant, brilliant, yes. And you are... touchdown! Oh no, you're not, you're up! Oh, what are you doing? Just touchdown. That's it. And remarkably, all the engines survive. Brilliant score. Well, say brilliant, not bad. I could really improve on that score. Nice little silver award there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the series. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And we'll see you on the next one.